Okay, guys, I am going to attempt to quilt on marine vinyl with Tex70 Bonded Nylon on the top. And then I have this Tex33 Bonded Nylon that I've had for a while to put in the bobbin. And originally, I thought that I'd have to loosen my bobbin tension like I do when I'm quilting a real quilt. Because, with a real quilt, you have to, you see front and back. So you need your threads to like meet in the middle. And I forgot with a bag, like if this is going to be for a handbag, you don't have to worry about the back. So you don't really need to loosen the tension. However, it's interesting because I put this Tex33 bonded nylon in the same bobbin case that I used for quilting in the hoop, on a regular quilt. With that bobbin, I used So Fine 50 weight. And I had to lower my tension to like 10 grams just so that the threads would, meet in the middle. And, and then I have to crank my top up all the way. Because these tubular type of machines, this is a Janome MB4 4 needle, and most tubular machines are made so that the top thread gets pulled to the back. That's how most embroidery is supposed to be. You see some of the top thread on the bottom. So with a tubular machine, it's really hard to get them to meet in the middle. So I had to do some things to this machine just to quilt a regular quilt with, I believe I used cotton thread in the top, 100% cotton. It was 30 weight bro thread in the top because cotton doesn't stretch like poly. And then in the bobbin, I used So Fine poly 50 weight. But I had to, like I said, lower the bobbin to 10 grams. So that was one thing that I had to do. I can't remember what size needle I used. I think I had to use a 14. Yeah, I used a 14 needle, I think. 14 sharp. And the other thing I had to do to get the top to be tight enough to pull that bobbin up, even though the bobbin was at 10 grams, the other thing I had to do was take the pre-tensioner and wrap the thread around it twice down here, 2 times instead of once. So that just gave me a little bit more tension. My top is all the way up to 9 when I do it, even on a regular quilt. And then I had to tighten my check spring. Let's see if you can see it. Just on needle number 1, there's a little, you could put your Allen wrench in this slit and you can I think I dialed it down to make this stronger and tighter. I also took the cover off to do that. I think that allowed me to get it even stronger. There was a setting and then also this. So those 2 things I had to do just to quilt in the hoop with just on a cotton quilt. So I leave needle number 1 just for quilting. So anyways, when I used the same bobbin case that was giving me 10 grams with the 50 weight So Fine, when I put this Tex33 in it to quilt on this marine vinyl, Well, when I measured the tension of the bobbin case with the toe gauge, it didn't measure 10 grams. It measured like 22 grams, which is what we normally use for regular embroidery when we want stuff to be pulled to the back. And I thought that was strange because the Tex73 Bonded Nylon it's not thicker than the So Fine 50 weight, but it's like grittier, like rougher. So I guess that creates more of a, a pull on the tension. So when I saw that, I was like, huh, it's at 22 grams. It means it's gonna pull the top to the back. And I thought, well, so what? This is a handbag. You're not gonna see the back. And that'll just make the top stitches here look more defined. So I let it go. And I did do a sample test sew on a design because I use Embird embroidery software, and we have all these mesh designs, and you can just create so much. You don't even have to create your own. You can just use one of theirs. But I decided to combine the two and make, I got permission from Toby Stylix to create her design that Saya did, that one handbag. So she said I could digitize it, and I did. And here it is on Embird. Let's see if I can get it. And there's a crosshair in there. I use that for centering and to check for rotation when I'm at the embroidery machine, but let me hide that. So there's the design, and it's square because with the mesh, the way I did this was I created a diamond mesh. I used Embird's mesh for the diamond. It's actually just a checkerboard, and then I rotated it 45 degrees to get the diamond shape. And then I did vertical lines and horizontal lines where they're supposed to be. I don't know how perfect it is, but if I don't make this square, then it was a little bit harder for me to get all these lines to be perfect. So this is 200 by 200 mils. And I was surprised that my embroidery machine pulled it up just fine, because sometimes if you go exactly at 200 mils, when it gets to the embroidery machine, it's 201 mils, and then your machine won't open it because, most of our hoops are only 200 high. But some of the better machines are bigger now. But so I went ahead and stitched it, but then as I was stitching it, I realized the mesh that Embird has stitches 2 layers. I completely forgot. So I went in and I took apart that mesh. I mean, I could have just digitized diagonal lines. I could have just snapped to these 2 points, because Embird has snap to nodes. It's basically the only software that has that, snap to nodes, and it also snaps to object edges. All the other softwares just have snap to grid and snap to guidelines, but Embird has them all. So, I mean, I could have done that, but instead I wanted to see if I could just split the mesh in 2, because this particular mesh stitches all 1 layer and then it goes over it again. So it was easy to split. So now I'm going to try it with just the one layer of stitching. The vertical and horizontal were always one layer because I added those as just outlines. So I'm going to see. I'm excited to see if it'll work. Here's my hoop. It's already in. This is just taped on with 4 pieces of painter's tape. And I decided to draw my crosshair like this with tape because I didn't feel like messing with anything. And I don't know if I mentioned, I'm using a 16 needle, a sharp, 16 sharp needle, because you really want to make sure your holes are big, because that way there won't be any friction created by the thread and the hook can catch it. You know, it actually makes that loop down there because the hole is so big because of your big needle. So I got a 16 needle. Let's see what else I'm forgetting. This is 2 ounces of cutaway, 2-ounce cutaway, hooped, and then so this is just floated on top. And the way I got this on is I take my hoop template, and even if you have like an aftermarket hoop, you can still make a template. But that's what helps you center everything. So I just put like rolled up 2 pieces of any kind of tape, you know, painter's tape or Scotch tape on either my hoop or the vinyl. And I just, while this piece of vinyl is just laying on the table, I make sure that, well, first I draw my crosshair. I think I have videos of that. I use the June Taylor rulers to draw the crosshair. It's just easier, and there might be some videos on that in my playlists on how I do that. But at any rate, so I draw the crosshair, put the tape rolled up on my hoop, and then just on the table, I tape the hoop matching up this crosshair to that one. You know, you just match it up, and this is on the back side of the hoop. Then, since this, not the hoop, the hoop template, and since then these hoop templates have these little notches here, you know, I just take the whole unit and place it on and press down, and then lift one end, put a piece of tape, hold that in, lift this one, put a piece of tape, you know, and then take this off and it's taped on. Now it's not perfect. I'm sure it's moved slightly, so that's why I have the crosshair digitized in my design as the first object here. And I have it on here also drawn. So when you first open your design, your machine always goes to the hoop center. You know, they don't know anything about how you've hooped incorrectly or anything. You know, we all hoop incorrectly. I mean, there's no way to get it perfect. So anyways, so your needle always goes to the center of what it thinks is the hoop. Well, you have to then move it. You move this carriage. It looks like the needle's moving, but the carriage is moving. You have to move it so that the needle is lined up with the crosshair that's in your design. So the crosshair in your design has to match this crosshair. And the way you do that is to get the needle to match, to be in the center, and then to follow this crosshair. That's how you check for rotation. So there's 2 steps. So the first step, I just put the hoop in. I have my design pulled up. I already set my, let's see, did I? Yeah. I have my crosshair. I already set it needle number 1 is the crosshair, and I clicked this to make it stop because I don't really stitch the crosshair, I just follow it. And then needle or color number 2, I should have said color number 1 is on needle 1, and color number 2 is also on needle 1. So I put, just pressed a 1. That's the only stitch out, basically the only color that I'm going to stitch. And so that I set. I must have been messing with the needle. That just means this is going to move if I click OK. Because I was, I had the needle dialed down. That's how I check for center and rotation. Mostly for center. Sometimes I don't need it for rotation, but so at any rate, so the first thing you do then is you check for center, because remember, as soon as I pull up this design, the machine goes to where it thinks the center is. So I can't really see, like, I can see the vertical center. I can push this down, okay, and I can see if I can get my camera to get in the correct center of my screen. I can see that vertically it's probably centered fine, but to see the horizontal center, you really have to go to the side of the machine to see it. And even then, I can't get real close because of this camera. Even then, you're really not sure. It kind of looks like it's okay, but it almost looks like it could be, like the needle can be moved back 2 mils or something like that. So to be totally sure, here's what you do. You take your machine, and on my machine, I have, my hand wheel is in the back. It's small. It's back here. And I use one of these to turn it. And I turn it towards me. And as I'm turning it towards me, I take and I push down. I have my finger right here. Just be careful. And I dial it down towards me. Oh, see, I already did it once, so it's going to puncture the fabric. Let me dial it back. Okay, there. Now it's looser, but I can dial it, and I can push this all the way down, and I can see better. Now when I go to the side, I can see that it needs to go back, I would say 2 mils. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see how close I can get. Oh, you can't really see it good. Because from the camera view, I think it looks like it's dead on. But it needs to go back 2 mils, the needle. Now, my machine, my Janome, and I would say a lot of the machines, I don't know really. I shouldn't speak for all of them. On my machine, if I want the needle to move back, I just use my back button. These are my 4 buttons that move the carriage. But because our brains think, oh, the needle has to move back, Janome kind of knew that that's the way we think. So their forward and back buttons move the needle. The needle's not really moving, but in our minds, it just seems easier for us to say, oh, okay, the needle has to go back, rather than saying, oh, the carriage has to go forward, or the design has to go forward. I guess you could think of it that way. The carriage is holding the design. So the Janome moves the needle, though. Not moves the needle, but you get the picture. But what I've noticed is some of the commercial machines, like Saya's Ricoma, her buttons move the carriage. In other words, her buttons move the design. So when I looked back there and I said, ooh, that needle needs to go back a little bit. What Saya would say is, oh, that design needs to move forward a little bit. So she would press the forward button on her machine. So that can be really confusing for people. And I guess you just have to know your machine, and then also know who your teacher is, who's teaching you. If you watch someone else's videos or what have you, just, it's always good to know how their machine thinks. So anyways, so I'm going to go ahead and move mine now. One thing about Janome, they don't have coordinates on their screen when you move your carriage. And that they have never updated for as long as I've owned this. And I've had it since like 2004. And the software is like never changed all those years. It's frustrating. But Brothers do. And I don't know about some of the other machines. I just don't know. So what you have to remember with the Janome is every time we press one of these buttons, it's 1/10 of a millimeter. So 0.1 millimeter every time you click it. For 2 mils back, I have to click this button 20 times. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Oh, that comes up because I was moving the needle bar. See, this is not a position. So you just hit OK. Every time you do that, that comes up. So 20 times. Let me try to support that. Whoops. Okay. Mine won't go back any farther, and that's because my design is 200 by 200, so it's already the width of the hoop. So it only let me go back like 5 times, which is, 0.5. It's a half a mil. So that's it. So now I'm okay because my fabric is 8 inches wide and the 200 mils is 7.87 inches. So I'm fine. I'm not going to go off my fabric. And then for the center of my hoop, like I said, I could tell it's in the center. So I'm going to have to just let it go. Normally that doesn't happen to me because normally I don't have a design that's taking up the entire hoop. I'm surprised it even let me move it 5 clicks. So a half a mil. So that's the first part, that's centering. And then you want to check for rotation. And that's another thing. It's probably not going to let me rotate because I'm already maxed out. But to check for rotation, you follow your crosshair. You follow it. So needle 1 is the first needle that's going to stitch. I'm not going to actually stitch it. I'm just going to follow it. These are my follow buttons, forward and reverse. So I'm just going to click the forward one to go to my first stitch. And I know my crosshair, that because I made it, I digitized it, it's going to start up at the top. So I'll click the F once. And since my line's not all the way up there, I'm going to just keep clicking this F button. I'll hold it down and then hold it down till I get on there. Okay, so I'm pretty much on the line, and then as I keep going forward, if I'm not on the line anymore, you want to think of your needle as like a spinner on a game board, kind of. And so if it's spinning, if it's like as it comes down, I should use something that's long. And so if you have something that, as it comes down, if that needle is, say, to the left of my line, if it's like that when I come down as I'm following, then I know I have to rotate the design counterclockwise. I have to take this and spin it, counterclockwise to get it here. So if my needle is here, when I get down here, then I have to rotate my design counterclockwise. And you have to just estimate, if it's just a smidget to the left, you say, okay, I'll, rotate it 1 degree counterclockwise. And then you have to come back and check again and follow again. So, because you figure you got 360 degrees in a circle. So, 1 degree is like nothing. But, so anyways, mine's probably doesn't need to be rotated. And like I said, it probably won't let me anyways because I maxed out on the design. But I'll just keep hitting the F button to bring this down and see where the needle does land. Yeah, mine is right on. I pretty much hoop pretty good only because of the way I start out my hoopings. Not always. Sometimes I don't even care because I know I'm going to do this. And, why waste the time trying to be perfect? But this one is fine. But if I did need to rotate it, let's just say the needle was to the left and I needed to rotate the design counterclockwise, say 1 degree. I would go to my screen and see, I'm looking through the camera. Let me hit this to get back to my home screen. I would hit the menu button up here and go to my edit screen. And then this is my rotate button. And this is counterclockwise and this is clockwise by degree. Here's your degree down here. This is if you want to go 90 either way. So I want to go counterclockwise 1 degree. When I press this once, this will rotate up 1 degree. It wouldn't let me. Like I said, it wouldn't let me because I maxed out up there. My design hits the hoop if I try to rotate. So, but that's how I would do it, and then I would click OK. Now here's the other thing. If I had to rotate it the other way, and if I hit this button, again, it's not letting me. when you rotate clockwise, this is going to say 359. I went 1 degree or 1 degree clockwise. They think of it as like, 360 degrees basically starts like, basically starts like this, and then 90, 180, I'm going counterclockwise, 270, 360. So 360 and 0 positionally are the same position, this point here where my baby finger is. So if I went clockwise, I'd be at 359. Because they don't like to use negatives. Like you could say, yeah, I went -1 degree, negative. They don't like to use that in softwares like this. So they just say, we're just going to work with 360. When you go this way, it's 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 degrees. But when you go the other way, you're at 359. And 359 and -1 degree are the same thing positionally. They're down here. Positionally, where that point is, it's the same position. So anyways, sorry I couldn't rotate it, but this is maxed out like I said. So I'm good. I'm going to just hit OK to go back to home. And on the Genomes, when you come back to home, it goes back to the incorrect hoop position. In other words, when I centered it the first time. But rest assured that your settings are saved. If I went into the menu edit screen, you'd probably see that even my crosshair was, I don't know if you could see it or not. You can't even tell that it was moved because I moved it such a small amount. Such a small amount. So, but rest assured that your settings are saved from when you centered. Anybody who owns a Genome. The reason I know this is because if I would say, press the fast forward button to follow the crosshair, the first thing I see is this needle go to the center that I had set it at. Like I'll see it jog to the center and then follow the crosshair. So it is saved. So anyways, I'll just come up here and take my next thread color. This is to go to the next thread color because I'm done with the crosshair. And to get this needle to come up, you don't want to press needle up, needle down because you're in vinyl. I could do a couple of different things. One, I could go to the back with the hand wheel and mess with this so that I get that OK button. The other thing I could do is change this to, say, needle number 2 or something, or change the other one, go into the settings. Let's see. Okay, I'm moving up. Now it's on the crosshair. I could change that to say needle number 2 and then click OK. Whoops. And then go back up to the crosshair. See, it pops up because it thinks it's going to needle number 2. I just don't want to manhandle my machines. I'll go back to needle number 1. Okay, so that's my first stitch of needle number 1. of my design. And so whenever I quilt in the hoop, and sometimes I do it on all designs, I have my thread really long, and this is Tex70 Bonded Nylon, but I have it really long, and I hit the start button one time and I get a warning, and then I hit it again, but I hit it 2 times. So I hit it once to get the warning, then 2 times real fast to get a needle up, needle down. That lets me pull up my bobbin thread. So I hold this lightly because you know the needle's gonna go down. I'll press the start button. I pressed it once, I got the warning. Oh, pull up tension. I didn't have my tension release button or release lever pulled forward. Good thing that tells me that. So now I have to press the start button again. So I press it one time, it says machine starts to run. And so now is when I press the start button 2 times real quick to get a needle up, needle down. And I hold this kind of loose, but tight in my fingers, but loose here. See how I just hit that real fast and then pull up. There's my bobbin thread. So my bobbin thread is black, this is white. And then I just hold them both tight, kind of tightly on the hoop, and then I just start it. I get the warning up on the screen again. I always get that. And then I press it just one time this time to get it to start. Oops. I got the camera in my way. And I'm just going to let it stitch right over the painter's tape. I don't have this spray basted or anything because over the years, the first time I tried spray basting, I would do it in my bathroom, and after about a year, even though I was spraying it in a box, there was spray just gets everywhere because, you know, it ricochets, it just mists all over, and there's like a coating on my bathroom floor now, and that was only like maybe only a year of using it. So imagine it getting into your machine and that, you know, or just your house, and oh my gosh. So I stopped. So that's my first rectangle. I just put that in my design as another object that you didn't see, just to tack down. So that's just a rectangle, and now it's stitching the design. Oh shoot, I forgot to take this tape off. I'm looking through the camera. That's so funny. And this isn't painter's tape. This is just cheap tape. Ooh, I'm not gonna do well. Oh, Lisa. What a dum-dum. Okay, I'm gonna take my good scissors. Oh, that's too funny. It's hard looking through a camera. I'm gonna try and snip. Because, you know, I don't want my threads to get loose either. So I'm gonna snip on like either side. And then try to pull it out, say the other side. See if it works. Oh my gosh. And I can't see. Well, I might have to. Okay, now I got, and my good tweezers are lost. I have these junky ones. I bought these on Amazon, and they're like serrated. Well, don't ever get a serrated tweezers because they don't grab any of your threads. I miss my good one. I have to get it again. These are eyebrow tweezers. They work better than anything. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think I got the first layer off, but I don't know. I can't see that well. Okay. Silly girl. Oops. We'll try it this way. Okay. Yeah, so these here are going to be looser. Darn it. Okay. But the rest of these are tight. I mean, they're not bad. It's probably not what we're used to seeing when we're on our sewing machine, but it's not bad. And those on the edge, I was able to get those out real easy. And you're not going to see that anyways. It's going to be in your seam allowance. It's really doing well. I was surprised. And I know I tried this years ago with the Tex33 on some in the hoop leather wallets I did on my machine here, but I never had good luck, and I think the reason why I am having good luck is because I changed so many things, like, you know, the check spring, tightening the check spring, double wrapping the pretensioner, 16 needle, you know, cranking it up all the way. The top tension is cranked up all the way as high as it can go. Now you may not have to do that on a, you know, a commercial type machine, but this is like a home machine, basically. And one thing I liked about it when it first stitched, I like when it goes in and makes a corner. At first I thought maybe I'd have misregistration, but when it does that, it actually makes it so that there's a needle puncture right at that corner. But as you can see, this line, straight line, you know, doesn't do that, of course, but on some of them it does, so it is kind of neat. So this particular mesh design, I guess because it's so geometric and so simple, it actually stitches the first layer, you know, completely before it does the second layer. That's why it was so easy to split. And then I noticed their stipple, they have a mesh that's a stipple. There's several versions of it, depending on what module you're in, but in the Studio Next digitizing vector module, The stipple also is like this. It does the first layer, and well, that's because stipple is just a continuous type of design, so it's easy to do it in one layer. Okay, so now it's going to start doing the straight lines. And I believe that might be a straight line up there that I forgot to delete. Oh no, oh, that's not good. I didn't know that that was there. When I was doing this, I thought I deleted the wrong half. And I went back and tried to make sure that, you know, my lines looked straight and everything looked good, but obviously I missed that. So that wasn't one of the lines. That was still part of the second mesh. So I guess I'm going to have to stop it up in the right corner. I'll split it again, which is easy. So that's okay, I guess. I wonder if there was a misregistration there, though. I don't know. It kind of looks like it didn't go in the same needle holes up there, but yeah, I did delete that one line up at the top now that I remember. I've changed this so many times. And Doosan from Embird, he's so nice. If you request stuff for him, he'll do it if he can. That's what I love about it. You know, we've had so many designs that I've requested, and they're just so nice to try to give us what we need. But he told me that we're going to be getting single layer mesh designs. And if I can get permission to get this design as a mesh design, that way it'll be so easy then to make it any shape. But if it's copyrighted, I can't, you know. But we'll see. I'll ask if I can. Because then, you know, you can make it rectangular or everything, circular, oval. You could put it inside of a lettering, you know, applique. Just the sky's the limit. You know, you can make these smaller, bigger, tinier. So it's coming along good. I am just so happy. Wait, now I wish I wouldn't have messed that up at the top. This is so beautiful. And so easy. Oh my gosh. So then that should be it after this. I mean, these are single lines, you know, that I just digitized in, so I know they're not going to double up. Okay. It even cut the threads. My cutter was able to cut this bonded nylon. I'm so excited. I knew I should have kept the other side that I split off. But when I looked at it, it looked like the lines were a little wavy. But I don't know. There it is. Oh, is that beautiful? Wow. Let's get up close. Now this, I made the stitch length 3 mils. Should I have made it 4 mils? I don't know. I think when Saya top stitches, I think she top stitches at 4 mils. But, you know, I could make it any length. It doesn't matter. I mean, the stitches are beautiful. They're nicely defined. And if I take my finger and, you know, try to move them, they will move a little, but they're not loose. It's interesting. These seem tighter than the diagonal. Maybe the diagonals are like harder to do. And then the back, like I said, I'm sure it's the threads. You probably can't see the white, but if you run your finger, see, and you say to yourself, well, is that the stabilizer or is that the top thread? And I did look at it closely, and it's the top thread. But that's okay. That's okay because we're not going to see it. And then this cutaway just, you know, lends itself to give your bag more structure. You don't want to use tearaway. And if you don't want a lot of structure, if your machine can't make it through or what have you, I guess you could use the poly mesh, but just make sure when you use poly mesh that you're not going to hit this with an iron, but poly mesh, if you hit your design or anything with an iron afterwards, or even wash it, you know, it shrivels up your design. I hate it. I hate poly mesh. But a lot of times what I do is I iron it first to try to shrink it before I apply it to my hoop or whatever. And nylon mesh is worse. Poly mesh is bad, but nylon mesh it shrivels even more. So there you go. And then with this, I'll just peel that off, and then I can just take my tweezers, you know, to get the rest of this. It just comes off. And you're not going to see it anyways, and I can get that too. But I can't see. I have to get real close. I can't see what I'm doing. This is going to make me go and order my good tweezers, even though I know they're in my house somewhere. I thought for sure they would show up, but it's been like 6 months and I don't see them anywhere. I probably threw them out, knowing me. So that just comes off real easy. So there you go. And then the cutaway, you know, you can just cut when you take it out of the hoop. You can just cut, you know, where this line is here. You would just cut real close to this line. This one, you obviously, I could have made this whole thing like 8.5 or 8.25 by 8.25, but I wasn't thinking. So I made it 8 tall and 8.25 wide. I just didn't want to waste fabric. And if you did use more fabric, then you wouldn't have to worry about centering or rotating or anything like that, you know. But since I was cheap, I had to make sure that I had it covered. And let's see, I moved the needle back, which meant I moved this forward. So good thing I did move the carriage forward because I barely caught this down here. So I'll just show you how I cut it, I guess. I only got one more to go. I'm so excited because I do sometimes make bags mostly out of cotton that I quilted, and sometimes vinyl and leather, but I don't use Tex70 Bonded Nylon. You know, I either use embroidery thread or I used, like I said, the cotton 30 weight. So this just opens up a whole new world. And this marine vinyl that I'm using, it's not the flimsy, thin marine vinyl. It's the thicker, heavier marine vinyl. Yes, it's from Joann's, but it's not their junky versions, because I have the junky ones, believe me, and I hate them. These are the better ones. So let's see if I can raise. Oh, I think I have this raised up. So to take this out, then here's my thing. I could loosen it because just a touch, just so I don't kill my fingers. Sometimes I like to leave the hoop set if I know I'm going to do this again. And then I probably have, I have double-sided tape on my hoop. We all have our hooping techniques, right? So I'll just kind of, go like that, and then I like to cut close to this edge here. Let me grab my scissors. You always want to see your fabric when you cut, so. And that's that. Sometimes I save it for, like, I don't know. This one, geez, boy, I really skimped on that edge. Oops, what did I do? Did I get too close? That wasn't very good. So this is 2-ounce cutaway. It's I have 2.5 ounce cutaway, but I don't think I need it for this vinyl. This vinyl is so thick to begin with, so there you go. That is just beautiful. Just beautiful. I'm so happy. I'm excited. It's just really nice. All right, guys. Till next time. If you have any questions, you can always write me at WeQuiltStudio.com or email me. Anything. Facebook, Lisa WeQuilt. I'm always there to help. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.